Okay.
Today I'm so excited. My guest is Bill Dougherty, William Dougherty, good Irish name. And he and I met at the Niantic Farmers Market pre-COVID, wasn't it, Bill?
That's correct. Yeah.
And of course, he's got cookies and breads in front of him, so that's just a draw right there. And tasted one of his cookies, bought a box, brought them home, nibbled them up. They were gone before I could say Jack Robinson, right? Is that the expression? But anyway, Dougherty, Bill Dougherty, and Dougherty is a family name for me. We talked about that, right? And I found out quickly in a few-minute conversation that Bill and I have a lot in common, from New Jersey, where my husband hails from, and an amazing kind of repertoire that we were able to establish and develop. So welcome, Bill. Thank you. After all this time, we're finally together. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And can't wait to get back to that farmers market. But before we get into that, you are retired, and this is like your new pathway, right? Lots of times people, when they say they're not going to work anymore, they hang up their lab coat or their nurse's hat, whatever it might be. For me, I was a speech pathologist, so I hung up my scan card and my whistle for when I did recess duty. What did you do? What was your career?
So I worked for 39 years.
39. Well, thank you for all of that.
Yeah, in pharmaceutical industry.
Pharmaceuticals,
Yeah.
nice, yeah.
And when we retired, my wife and I both retired at about the same time. And when we retired, we decided we would do some different things.
Nice, fun, right?
And she has been interested in baking for years. Her family, her mother and grandmother taught her how to bake Slovak cookies
Is
and
that
breads.
Polish then, or?
No, her grandmother's from Czechoslovakia.
Okay.
And so they taught her how to make Slovak breads and cookies. And so she thought she would start a business doing that when she retired. And so she started Breads and Cookies.
Oh, and that's the name of your company.
Yeah.
Okay, Breads and Cookies.
And she did a little bit of the Slovak breads and before she turned over to sandwich breads and cookies. She does do the Slovak breads for holidays, Christmas,
very nice.
Easter, Thanksgiving, and for special occasions.
So what makes it special? What is a Slovak bread? What is that?
Well, the ones that she makes are yeast dough, which she has to rise twice and then
punch it down,
and then
roll it
out. And she fills it with a walnut filling or poppy seed.
Nice.
Or prune butter.
Nice.
And then it's rolled up.
Kind of like arugula then.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, and then you cut it.
And then, you can cut it, yeah. And then the cookies she makes are called kruszczyki, I think. And they're rolled up and they have different kinds of jelly or jams in them.
Nice.
Yeah, and then they're coated with powdered sugar.
You're making me hungry. You're making me hungry. My stomach's going to start growling here in a minute or two. So.
So she started off with that, and then she started making sandwich breads. She started making what she calls sweet breads, which are pound cakes. She did some Amish stuff for a while, and the cookies that she does, she turned all those recipes over to my son.
Oh boy! So it's
to our son, not to our son,
well,
right?
Yeah.
And Matthew does all the cookies. He does all the prep of the dough, and he rolls them out and bakes them and wraps them and labels them.
Nice.
And so he does all of that for her to leave her just with the breads.
Nice. So do you have a huge kitchen?
She has a small kitchen that is on Williams Street in New London. It's right across the street from Mr. G's restaurant.
Okay, well, I'll have to pop in sometime.
Yeah, it's a small place. She doesn't do a lot of retail. If you go by there and she's in there and she has stuff that's ready to sell, she'll sell it to you, of course. But retail was not really her focus. What the focus turned out to be was the farmers markets.
Oh, interesting.
So that gives her time to get stuff prepared and time for the 4 markets that we're doing now.
Oh, very nice. So 4 markets, and we talked about those previously. Niantic, and when is the Niantic? It's on Thursdays, right?
Thursday
So,
from...
and today's Thursday that we're filming this on.
It starts next week, though.
Oh, next week,
next
okay.
week, yeah. And that's from 3 to 6, I believe.
Sounds right.
Right, and we do Waterford on Saturday morning. That's from 10 to 1. We do Ledyard on...
That's okay.
Hope you can get that out of there.
That's not the first time that's happened. So
Waterford on Saturday from 10 to 1. Ledyard on Wednesday from 4 to 7.
I need to get some water.
And Sunday at Denison Nature Center from 12 to 3.
All right. So tell me.
And then we occasionally do some special ones. We do the Garlic Festival at the Mystic Village in September.
Those are all really great things. So
Yeah.
I'm going to have you talk about the importance of doing this and what happens when you're there. And I'm going to go grab a glass of water because I'm getting, the pollen has gotten to me. So can you just tell me how
What was the question again? Go ahead.
What is the joy of doing
Oh, okay.
this?
Yeah,
So,
okay.
and I'm going to pop
All right.
out for
Yeah,
a second
okay.
just to get water. Sorry
Okay.
about this.
All right, the joy for her is the actual preparation and seeing that people will come to the markets and purchase the stuff that she sells, the breads and cookies that we sell, and getting the feedback from some of the customers. She's had feedback on her Slovak breads, and she's had feedback on the sandwich breads that she makes. She does make an American Indian bread that a lot of people buy, and the feedback that my son gets on the cookies is really good too. So we always make sure that he hears that feedback. Now the fun for me is being out and meeting people and talking with people and finding out, some interesting information about some of the people that we deal with.
So you each have your takeaway, but
Yeah.
it is a family business, so you're very busy with all of the ordering, the preparation of it, the packaging of it, the marketing of it, right? Am I thinking or missing anything?
So what happens usually is the shopping is done by me, and she will do some specialized shopping if she needs to. She does all the baking. I do all the selling. I take care of the money. And we both work together on little advertising. We always have something that we try to put into the Facebook pages of the markets that we do. We're not always successful at doing that, but that's what we try to do so that people know what we would be bringing. Now, we've been doing this for almost 15 years. 15 years now, yeah. And so the people that come to the market generally know what we have and what kind of products we have. And that's the joy of it.
That's
actually.
great.
Yeah,
that's great.
That's the joy of it. Yeah.
Well, and you each, it sounds like your wife is maybe not as much of an extrovert as you are. You've got like the talking to the people and meeting the people, and she's more focused on the actual
prep. Yeah. Now, there have been times when I haven't been able to do it for a while, and so she's done the markets.
I'm sure. I mean, it's not that she can't do it or doesn't want to do it.
But she does go to the markets, and and she'll interact with.
Of course.
people.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. I
mean, you get into your own little wheelhouse,
right,
and you find your niche, and that's the beauty of doing that. So. And it sounds like you've gotten a name for yourself, Breads and Cookies, and I it's kind of ironic to me that your name is Dougherty, and Dough is the first 4 or 5 letters of your name, and dough and bread, and here we are. So very nice. Now you probably have to go through health inspection and
correct. The kitchen is inspected. So it is an inspected kitchen. consumer protection comes in
Sure.
and will inspect it. The health department obviously inspects it. And they also come to the markets. Now, when they come to the markets, they don't necessarily focus on us because all of our stuff is wrapped and prepared before we get there.
Right.
So they focus more on the farmers and the people who are bringing food that they're preparing at
Because
the
there's
market.
people who serve, I don't know, like soft serves or
Correct.
donuts. I think I've seen different
Yep.
things like that.
Yes,
So they're going
that's
to be
correct,
more
yeah.
concerned
They're
with how
concerned
they're
how that is
doing
done. Yeah.
that. Okay, but you
Yeah.
know, and to me, the farmers market is just such a fun thing to begin with, and I know that it's the winter's farmers market, but but also, like you said, it's opening up next week. The summer farmers market, people are out and
That's right.
kind of music, and you can kind of meander. It's like that old town feeling and bringing people together.
Yeah, at the Ledyard Market, they will have entertainment just about every week, and it's this DJ place in New London. And then at the Waterford Market, they have a lady who comes from, I believe she's in New London. She was with the River Gods for a while. She may still be with the River Gods. And she will bring someone to play with her or sing with her. So it's there's a lot of entertainment.
It's fun,
It's
right?
fun, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
yeah,
you have a
yeah.
buddy that you're usually with, and is he selling something too, or
No,
is he just your?
he's somebody that I met at one of the markets. He was selling scallops.
Okay.
And I happened to, strike up a conversation
Sure.
with him, and I met him. It turns out he's the uncle of someone that I worked with.
Oh boy,
for a
small
while.
world. Yeah, yeah,
right.
small world.
And he used to be a musician.
Oh.
Still is a musician.
That's right, and I've
Yeah.
heard him play. He plays the guitar
Yeah,
and
that's correct.
sings.
And sings,
Yeah,
yeah. Mhm.
yeah. I've met him, or I mean, I've met him with you, and
Yeah.
then I've seen him perform. I
Yeah.
think he was at.
He's been at the restaurant that's not far from Smith Acres. I don't know the name.
The
of it.
Morton House.
No.
Oh.
It's an Italian. I think it's an Italian.
Oh, La
Rest-
Paloma, maybe,
That could
or
be, yeah.
yeah. Okay,
yeah.
very cool.
Yep.
All right, and then the other thing I think that's really interesting about you, Bill, if I could be so bold as to say, but how you've done some research and you've gone back a little bit, like genealogy, because
Yeah, that's correct. So one of the things that got me interested is I was looking through pictures that my parents had, and so there's a couple things here. So when I look at the pictures, I have no idea how they met.
oh, your parents.
My parents.
You never heard the story,
No,
and they're all gone.
and they're all gone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Now I know where they met.
Where did they meet?
They met in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And I know what they were doing in Washington, D.C.
Were they going to school?
Well, my mother was going to nursing school,
Wow.
and my father was doing a residency in pathology at Children's Hospital
So he was a doctor.
as a doctor. But how they came together,
Who knows,
who
right?
knows,
Yeah,
right,
and
where they met,
they didn't write it down. They didn't share
no,
it.
no,
You know,
no.
another thing we have in common, my folks met in the Washington, D.C. area. My mom was part of the movement from the Midwest to
Mm-hmm.
help because of the war efforts. And then my father was a graduate student at Catholic University.
oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's how they met. So another thing we have in common.
Yeah, actually, that's where my mother was going to nursing school.
Oh, wow.
At
So
Catholic University.
they
yeah.
probably knew each other.
Maybe.
You know? Right.
You never
yeah,
know. Right?
Yeah.
You never know. Yeah. Mhm.
Interesting.
And so, up to that point, I don't know anything really about them.
Were they from D.C. then, or
No,
did they travel?
the interesting thing is that my father is from Beverly, Massachusetts,
Okay.
and my mother is from Savannah, Georgia.
Oh, gee. Yeah.
So they
so
were-
north and south.
They were
and
worlds
yeah.
apart, so to speak. You know,
Exactly. Very different
yeah,
lives and.
that different cultures.
But you
Yeah.
grew up. They settled here.
No, my dad was in the Navy.
Okay.
All right, and this is part of what I'm
That
trying to
brings
work
you-
out.
sure.
Yeah, so my dad was in the Navy right after Pearl Harbor. He went in. Then we stayed, I believe, with my grandmother, my father's mother, and we probably moved between there and Savannah.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah, oh yeah. And then we were in Texas. Then we were in
Okay. Navy. Yeah.
yeah, and then we were in Virginia, Maryland, my mom and sister and I lived in Savannah for 2 years, and when my dad was overseas again.
Sure.
And then we moved to Jersey.
And that's where you settled.
Yeah, that's basically where we settled, yeah.
So what year were your folks born? Do you know? Like
They
my
were
mom was born in
1917,
because my
yeah.
mom was born in 1918 and my father was born in 1916, I believe. So, yeah, they were just that generation, and yeah.
And my father, his dad was an MD as well.
Oh, so okay.
Yeah. But he died shortly after my father was born.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would be hard
Yeah,
for your
that-
dad to
yeah.
grow up without him.
Well, yeah, and then my grandmother remarried 10 years later. They had a son together. And so that, he had a younger stepbrother, so to speak, right, whom I never knew. But, he often would talk about his stepbrother, and I had pictures of his stepbrother and so on. So, and he was killed training in the Army Air Corps.
His
Step uncle.
Your step uncle,
Yeah,
right?
was
That's
killed
what I
in
was
the
going to
Army
call
Air
him.
Corps.
Right.
Yeah, he was
Wow.
killed training.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
That's
that was
tragic loss. Yeah.
Yep.
But you've gone to some of your previous residences, which I think is an interesting. Yeah. What
Yeah.
did you find?
So I went to the house we had in Silver Spring.
Oh, my brother lives in Silver Spring. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
In two things. I was in Silver Spring. I went through the house with the people that owned it. I spent about 2 hours there, and one of the things my father had done was built a brick outdoor barbecue.
Oh, they did that back in those
Back in
days.
the 40s.
My aunt and uncle had that in Carroll, Iowa. Interesting. Yeah.
And that's still there. That's still there. And I talked to the people that were living in the house at the time. And what I didn't bring, and I should have, is the person that lived in the house, he had a 3-piece Irish band. And he cut a CD, and he named the CD "The House," and the picture on the the plastic thing is a picture of the house.
Oh,
Of
nice.
this house, yeah.
And you lived in this house.
And we lived in a house for 4 years.
Okay, and
Yeah.
do you have memories of your time?
Yeah, oh yeah.
How old
yeah.
were you then?
I was from 4 to 8 years old. I
Okay,
moved
so
in
yeah,
the-
I mean,
Yeah.
people remember things back
Yeah, and
3 or 2, and yeah.
we were in Maryland just last week,
Okay.
and one of the things that I had done is I went to a private school, 1st and 2nd grade, and so I've been looking to find information about that private school.
Oh, is it no longer in
No,
existence?
It's no longer in existence, but I did go to, it was in Tacoma Park, and I went to the Historical Society in Tacoma Park, and they have some information they're going to send me.
Oh, nice.
But at the same time, the farmhouse, it was on a farm property, I guess, the farmhouse is still in existence.
Interesting.
And it's been moved a bit. Right? And I
Interesting.
got the address of the farmhouse and was able to go there, and the people that owned it let me in on the 1st floor, which was kind of cool. I don't remember anything about it.
Okay.
But it was,
But you feel it, and
it is a house, and it's a historical society.
It has a plaque on
It's
it.
got
Nice,
3 plaques
nice,
on it,
nice.
and it was really very nice. It was fun. to
Oh,
go in there.
good,
Yeah,
good.
Yeah.
And when you went into the house in Silver Spring, was that, I know today's some kind of a day. So when you went into the house in Silver Spring, were you able to kind of relive some of your
Yeah.
childhood memories?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have some pictures from there too, but yeah, I can remember, being in the house, and I can remember things that we used to do there. We got our first TV while we lived
Oh,
in that
sure.
house.
Oh, sure.
And the dining room and living room are connected, and occasionally we would move the table into the living room so we could watch the Lone Ranger. Or
Yeah.
whatever happened to be on,
Oh,
you know.
yeah. Or Lawrence
Yeah,
Welk.
right,
We used to
yeah,
watch
exactly,
Lawrence Welk
right.
every Sunday
Yep,
night.
Yep,
yeah.
that's right. And it had a fireplace, and we used to have a fire. in there.
Nice.
And what I remember is on one Christmas Eve, we were allowed to sleep downstairs by the tree, so
Sure.
we could maybe catch Santa Claus. And
Catch a glimpse of
Yeah,
him with
and I
his-
found out who Santa Claus was. It was my mother.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's because I just happened to wake up and she was there putting stuff on the tree. So that's where I
You
found
probably
it
had
was
an
a-
inkling by the time you were
Yeah,
8 years old.
yeah, right.
that-
Yeah, I
you
probably did. Yeah, yep,
yeah.
yep.
So.
And we used to go to places like Great Falls. We used to go to the zoo in Washington.
Sure, of course, that would be a nice
yeah,
outing for you.
Yeah, and my dad liked to sail.
Sure,
And
being
so
in the Navy, of
right.
course, yeah.
And so we would go down to Chesapeake Bay, and he would rent a sailboat. I have a picture of us in the sailboat, and I'm running the tiller and so on. And,
Sure, nice
yeah,
memories,
yeah,
really nice
yeah,
memories.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was, it was a fun time.
Those are great
Yep,
stories.
yep,
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing all of those. Yeah, and what about your son? Is he appreciative, I guess, of the things that you are able to conjure up and resurrect from some of the research?
I'm not real sure about
Not
that,
yet.
but it may happen.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I mean, look, I went through almost 60 years and not really thinking about what my mother and father, how they met, that sort of stuff. I know what my father did as a business or as a career, and I know what my mother did.
Right.
But
Well, they were medical.
Right.
What kind of medicine was your dad? Like
well,
an
my
internal?
dad turned out to be a public health officer. He was
Okay.
in the public health department in Trenton.
Oh.
And he was acting commissioner of health for a number of years, but for a few months. And then my mother was a nurse at Notre Dame High School in New Jersey, so she was there for 20 some odd years until she had to retire. The thing about my mother is that she was quite ill with diabetes, and in order to keep that job, she had to get a degree. She had to finish the degree. She didn't get at Catholic University, so she finished that, and she worked at Notre Dame High School, and she went to school and studied and took care of us. And
How many kids were there? How many?
Two.
You
It's
and
my
your
sister
you
and
and your
I.
sister.
My sister
Yeah.
and I.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow. Well, you have to admire that too.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
she was just so determined, and
Yeah.
she's of the Eleanor Roosevelt era. Did your mom talk about going to see her and listen to her speak?
No.
and-
My mother was not focused on politics, and neither was my. They voted
Of
and
course,
they listened,
but they were more
yeah.
interested in their medical
right,
careers
but-
and their fields.
Right, and there wasn't early on. There wasn't a lot of talk about politics until we got older. We're in college, but it was always my sister and my father that used to.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Well, it's just important how, I don't know, I think those experiences and those discussions, and those were the days where families did sit down at the table
That's right.
and have a meal. And
That's right. I was thinking the other day, we had breakfast every morning together.
Did you?
We had dinner every night together.
So 2 meals a day,
two meals a day, and Saturday and Sunday we had lunch together.
Nice, yeah.
And the same was true with my wife, because when we started dating, I would go to her house and we'd have the whole family would be there for dinner, mother, father, her brother, her grandmother, and us. Right? Sometimes we had our 4 kids there, and so it was always. But you're right. We don't.
A lot of elbows back and
Yeah,
forth,
right,
and
yeah,
a lot of
right,
passing of
right,
plates, and
But people are so busy now. They don't seem to have the time, and they got different interests, and
it's just so important.
Yeah,
It really
to
is
do-
so
yeah,
important to find out what
yeah.
your day was like and
Yeah.
what the strengths were, what the problems might have
were, yeah,
been, and how to solve them, and
Yeah.
that collective wisdom that I think that shared experience brings about. Now, was your mom quite a cook?
Oh yeah, she cooked every day. Even when she was working, she came home and cooked.
No.
And my dad did breakfast.
Okay. And what was his specialty?
Well, he could do just about. He'd do bacon, eggs, fried eggs, scrambled eggs, poached eggs. We hardly ever had pancakes or anything like that, but it was usually eggs and bacon in the morning. And I always wonder how my cholesterol managed to stay within.
Yeah,
within
under
limits.
200,
Yeah,
huh?
right,
Well,
right,
good for
exactly.
you. So
Yeah,
you've lived a good
yeah,
and healthy
yeah,
life.
yeah.
And
Well, more or less, yeah.
more or less.
Yeah,
Well,
right,
good,
yeah.
good. Now, you told me one time when we were chatting on the phone that there was something that you discovered that was in one of the houses
Yeah,
that you went to. What was that
That's
story?
correct. So
Yeah.
my dad lived up in Beverly Farms, Massachusetts, which is part of Beverly. And my grandson and I went up there, I think 3 or 4 years ago. And we went to the house.
And how old is he?
He's 20 now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he was about 17. And so the person who owned the house came out. And, you know, he asked me who we were. I told him my dad had lived here, my grandmother lived here. So he invited us in, and we went through the house, and he asked me my name, and I said, it's Bill Dougherty. And he says, we have a picture up in the attic.
Nice.
With a William Dougherty in it.
So was that your namesake? Was that your
It's
great?
my grandfather.
Oh, nice.
And it's the graduation picture from Johns Hopkins, where he went to med school.
Lovely.
Right?
Lovely.
That thing has got to be in that attic for 100 years or so.
Wow. So
you know?
you rummaged through.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, he brought it down.
He knew exactly where it was.
He knew exactly where it was. He brought it down, and he gave it to me, and he said, take it home, and
Lovely.
we don't need it.
That feels like serendipity.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's a family treasure. I mean, that is something that you, you know, maybe your son and grandson may not appreciate it, but down the road, I think they certainly will.
Down the road, they will.
Yeah. Do you look like him?
I don't think so, no.
You have his name.
Yeah, I have his name, and my father has his name.
Oh, so you're the third.
Tell me about third.
You're the third, and is your son William or Bill
No,
too?
no.
It stops with you.
Our oldest son is Matthew.
Okay.
And the youngest one is Sean.
Okay.
Matthew carries William as a middle name.
Okay.
But we decided that we would stop there.
Okay,
with
well,
three.
yeah.
And I always used to get cards from my grandmother addressed to William J. Dougherty the third.
Oh, very. She was proud of it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
She was proud of it. Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important that you know your roots. And you know, one of the things I like to watch on television is the show Roots, and you go back generation and generation and find these people that you've been related to, and you have this commonality, and just, you know, and we're probably cousins, is my guess too.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah. Because for me, Dougherty was not spelled the same way as you spell it, but back in the day, you know, they didn't worry about how they spelled things. Yeah. Well, this is quite lovely, and you know, best of luck to you with breads and cookies. Going to look forward to seeing you out on the.
Yeah, we'll be in Niantic next week.
Yeah. It's just going to be like celebration of spring and life, and hopefully you can have good weather, because you have to pay for your booth even if you don't.
You're there, rain or shine.
Rain or shine, right?
Yeah, unless it's lightning or something.
Oh,
like
sure.
That. Yeah,
Yeah. But you want to be safe too, because it's blacktop and. Yeah. Well, any last pearls of wisdom or advice that you'd want to give to young people or people who want to know more about their past?
I know. Well, what I was going to say is I know a couple of people who are just in the process of retiring, and my message to them was, keep busy.
Yep.
Do things that you wanted to do but didn't have the time to do when you were working, right? If there's things that your family wants to do together, you do that with them.
Nice.
If you want to consult, which some of them do, then that's fine. But that shouldn't be, from my point of view, the focal point of your retirement.
That's good advice.
But it's get out there and keep busy.
Keep busy.
Keep busy.
Well, keep your brain active too, and physically remain active. Yeah.
So read a lot.
Good.
You know, talk a lot.
Yeah. Get out there and
and
mingle.
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 Because you never know who you're going to meet.
You
right?
never know who you're going to meet, and you can always come and be on my show and tell your story. And
I remember your husband went to Junior 3.
And that was where you.
And I was close by there. I didn't go there.
Okay.
I went to Trenton Catholic, but the kids from Junior 3 used to come by all the time.
Right by your house?
Right by the house, yeah.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I think don't be afraid to knock on that door either would be another piece of advice.
That's right.
And introduce yourself to the previous or to the current owner of one of your previous.
Yeah, no, I've done that twice now.
In
both in Maryland and in Massachusetts. Yeah, just knock.